Mongota, Eigengrau, Nazlanmak, E. Though I don't know any of the languages that these words come from, each of them has come to mean something special to me over my time as a linguistics major at ASU. Because without them, I never would have seen that the way the moon reflects on the water at night makes a road-like path. Mongata, Swedish. I never would have had to wrap my mind around the concept that all hills have a shorter side. E, Tuvan. Words like these bring new colors into the way we see our world, such as the color of total darkness, that fuzzy gray, when you're standing in a pitch black room and your eyes are open. Eigengrau, German. I grew up in an English-speaking family. I didn't have any relatives that spoke another language other than English, so my journey to linguistics didn't come from wanting to be a polyglot. That seemed like a lot of work to try and learn another language, but it actually came from my relationship with the English language. When I was a little girl, I had crazy curly hair like that, just like I do now. And the way to make me giggle was also the same as it is now, to tell me a new word, because that just is what makes me come alive. And as I got into high school, I started really reading all the English books that were assigned to me, like actually reading them, because I wanted to absorb all that language the author was giving me, and so I could funnel it into my own writing, making my syntax more subtle and getting my meaning to be more and more precise and clear through language. And as I got into that, I got into journaling because words were the way that I understood my world. And so as I was a 17-year-old, I'd been through this process, and I'm trying to decide what major I should study in college when an article from National Geographic slammed me in the face, because it showed me a world where there were people that didn't have as much of an opportunity to develop their native language skills as I had, their way of seeing the world, their way of connecting with their culture and understanding their identity. So I got to go on a trip to Wales when I was a freshman, representing ASU on a Fulbright, to study how the Welsh language had been revitalized over the last 50 years. And as you can see, it's right next to the country of England, which is a very big disseminator of the English language throughout the world. So how did they make this little Celtic language thrive? But as I was studying the hope, I also got to see the heartbreak of one man I talked to. I asked him what he thought about the Welsh language. He told me that he had never actually been taught Welsh because his mother was hit on the hand in school for speaking it. And that action made her decide to not want to pass it on to her children and only use it as a secret code between her and her husband because she knew her little boy wouldn't understand. This pain is still in the hearts of Americans. I got to go to a conference in New Mexico where I got to network with indigenous Native American leaders who are trying to put in similar programs to bring back their languages. And as we finished up a discussion, we asked one teenage boy in the room what he had thought about all of this efforts. And his voice choked up. Because though he was trying as hard as he could to pick up more and more of his cultural language, a word here and there just wasn't enough, and he didn't feel like he had the support to get the cultural knowledge and the connection to his community that he was yearning for. And so what I'm trying to do is go into dual language education for my career after I graduate, because it's a shown way that you can teach students in both the language of their home and the language of wider communication, such as English. And those languages don't cancel each other out, but they actually build upon each other. And so these students are coming out not just with a connection to their culture, but also better English language skills. But not everyone can do this. So what I want to propose to you is to think about how your language attitudes were formed, your relationship to your own native language, your relationship to languages that you hear spoken that you don't know, and think about maybe if you hear those comments that seem to put other languages at a lesser degree of respect, what that impact could have, because that impact might just make that person not want to speak their language as much. And then they might not want to pass it on to their children when they get older. And they're not speaking it in their community. And then that language might die out, and that whole culture might have broken hearts because they lost a way of knowing who they were. Because here in the United States, we understand a lot of the benefits of cultural diversity, but unless we turn on the light of language, we might have our eyes wide open in a dark room, and all we see is Eigengrau. Thank you.